Give me 1 second. It's recording. Welcome, everyone. Today is March 3rd, and this is a follow-up session that was intended for the business relations strategists, of which we have Vaishnavi as part of the team. Actually, what you folks don't know is I invited Ariba, who just graduated last December, to join that part of the team so she can do outreach with us and practice with you guys. And Olumosope, I haven't told you about it yet because you and I have been talking about resumes, but we can talk about that really shortly. Before I proceed to what I had intended, did you guys have any hot questions about the resume or anything in general before I go into the discussion? That much? No? So I guess I'll start with Vaishnavi because she said she went there 2 days. Ariba was there yesterday, and Alumosope wasn't there because he had some other stuff going on. So Vaishnavi, you want to start this off and kind of like give us your impressions for the last 2 days?
The first day started quite um, different because I did not know what my resume was going to look like. The companies which I talked to did not exactly were looking for my expertise. They were looking into more of
Okay.
C sharp and cloud. So I had difficulty talking to them. But on the
Oh,
second
because your
day,
resume version, you're saying,
yeah,
wasn't what they were looking for. Is that
yeah,
what you meant?
and yeah,
Okay.
my skills were different. Like I am more of a front end and full stack developer. They needed specialties in cloud and C sharp and C.
Okay.
So I couldn't exactly relate to that. But then on the second day, I had one company which was computer science. I did talk to them about what I had skills and which they wanted. So it was kind of good.
Hmm. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second, especially the first day, because they weren't necessarily the people that you weren't talking to. Would you say that some of those people would be good to connect with anyway, or no?
They might be because in the future, if I were to be interested in some of those technologies, I could get into that and hopefully would make that connection useful. So
Mhm.
yes, definitely.
Okay, very good. Hold that thought. So what I heard Vaishnavi say, I'm just going to like paraphrase what you said. The first day wasn't that good because there was kind of like a mismatch of what they were looking for and what you were, and definitely you had the quote unquote wrong resume. So it was better conversations during the second day because this time it was aligned with your expectations and your preparation. Is that a correct assumption?
Yes.
Very good. And then I also made the point that since you spoke to quote unquote the wrong people on the first day, were they totally lost? Was that a waste of time? Or would those people be possible contacts in the future? And your answer was yes. I'm very pointedly bringing it out because that's part of the bigger picture when we talk about hashtag business relations that you will find in the index. So Ariba, I'm going to connect this quickly with you because you and I had a conversation yesterday. Ariba, do you see where I'm going with my question of Vaishnavi based on what we spoke about yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know where would I be going with that?
I'm sorry, I'm confused.
Yeah, where would I be going? Because Vaishnavi said she was talking to some people on the first day, but there wasn't necessarily a match, right? So I asked her the question saying, was that like a totally lost day for you? Or could we kind of save it because you spoke to these people anyway? There was some chit chat that was going on. So, and then you and I had a conversation in person at the career fair yesterday. Do you kind of know where I'm leading this discussion or you
Uh,
didn't? If you didn't, that's fine. That's why I invited you to today's call.
I'm assuming we talked about business relations yesterday, and this is
Hmm.
what you're implying, like how
Hmm.
even if we talk to the wrong person, we're just building some kind of business relation to them. That would
Yes.
help us in the future?
That would help you in the future. Plus, you don't know who they know because they might
Yeah.
know somebody who could help you right now. And that's why we're teaching you all of this information because it expands your reach, so to speak. Hey, Yash, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Can you hear us? Good, good. Thank you. So just to bring you up to speed, Yash, Vaishnavi went to 2 days of career fair. The first day was kind of like a mismatch with the people that she was expecting to talk to. The second day was great for her because she had like better conversations. There was kind of like a match of the people she was looking for and what her resume was prepared for. Ariba, who graduated last December, was at the career fair yesterday, and she and I had a conversation about the business relations that we speak about in these calls. Because what we want to do in these calls is to make sure that when you're reaching out to people that you don't know, practically strangers. In Vaishnavi's case, they're not total strangers right now because she spoke to them. There was facial recognition. She could say, "Hey, I saw you at the career fair." But part of what we teach you guys is people usually complain that they don't know a whole lot of people. Well, that's not a problem because part of what we teach at Career Services is to reach out to quote unquote strangers so that you could move forward with them because number one, you don't know who they know. Number two, you don't know what opportunities they have. And number three, it's just good practice for your careers to be connected with quite a few people in different areas. And also think that it's always a two-way street. It's not just you getting help from them. You could also absolutely help them. Did you have any questions in general about the career fair? Yes. Because I was just kind of like going around asking folks what their experience was to share it. And then I was going to move on with what I wanted to speak about.
I don't have any specific questions related to career fair now. I had some which I asked you in the previous session.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they have
I
to do with messaging?
sorry, can
Yes.
you repeat, please?
Do your questions have to do with your messaging when you're reaching out to these people?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Perfect. So, okay, since what were your general, how was the career fair for you?
For me, firstly,
Yes.
instead of going to those people who have already 10 people in queue, I thought to go with someone who's standing straight without anyone, because in that case that all of their focus will be on me and not
Very good.
on 10 people. So that was a good thing. And I
How did
used
that work out? Did you have
yeah,
good
that worked.
conversations?
Yes, I had a conversation, and they told me that some of them did not have any current internship openings, but I connected with them in the hope that sometime in the future they'll have something for me.
Okay, you kind of broke up there, Yash. So you said you connected with them and hoping they might have
Yes, so
openings in the
some of
future?
them did not had any current openings for internship, but they said that they'll get back to me if they have anything.
Okay, cool. And I guess that's what we're talking about. You open, you start the relationship, keep on nurturing it because somewhere down the line you don't know what's going to show up. So you kind of keep on going from this person to the next. Before you know it, you have a collection of people. And this is what I was talking about with Ariba. You kind of expand your circle of influence, if you will, because you have these relationships that are going on with different types of people. There any questions about that before I ask Ariba to share her experience about the career fair? No, no questions. Ariba, could you please share your experience at the career fair? Oh, Yash is on. What Yash was going to say something?
No, I don't have any questions now.
Oh, okay. Ariba.
So I was there yesterday.
Mhm,
It was for the engineering. The career fair was the engineering field yesterday. So
mhm,
honestly, I didn't get to talk to much people because I saw the board that most of them were hiring domestic students.
mhm,
So, and I'm an international student.
mhm,
So I just talked to two of them. One of them said that they don't have any specific positions related to materials engineering. They have a similar position, but they don't have any opening right now. So they gave me a QR code to scan, and they said that you can fill out a general application. And the other was that I had a conversation with them. They said that they're looking for a material science student, and we can apply to their website. So we just had a general conversation, and that was it.
So you could apply directly to the website, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what was your game plan for that particular employer?
I was thinking of, I mean, I saw his name and I was hoping to connect with him on LinkedIn and
Mhm,
drop a message that it was nice. I met you yesterday at the career fair,
mhm.
and so that the conversation can start from there.
Very good. So you kind of like have your game plan. So let's do this. Just for the rest of everybody else who's on the call, including the ones who are present here right now, Ariba's kind of like in a special spot because materials engineering is kind of like a niche, if you will. So the context, it's kind of like the other branches like aerospace or like biomedical, where you go to these career fairs, they don't have a lot of contacts. But the reason we want to have these calls is because even if those people were not at the career fair, you guys have the ability with LinkedIn to reach out to these folks. So why don't we do that right now? But let me just check in really quick with Olu Mosope because he didn't have a chance to go into the career fair. But I'd like to make sure that if he has questions of anything that's been said so far, that we can clear that up for you. How you doing, Olu Mosope?
Yeah, I'm good.
No questions so far about what you've heard?
Yeah, not yet.
Is this helping?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So far, so good, huh? So let me share my screen. And Ariba, let's work with some of the people that, I guess, pick one of the two companies, whichever you're more comfortable with to talk about, and we'll use it as a springboard for our discussion right now in how to harness the contacts you got at the career fair and how to make even more contacts because you showed up at the career fair. So you guys see my screen, right? So
Oh,
Ariba,
yes, it's visible.
all right, cool. Thanks, Yash. So Ariba, who do we want to look up company wise?
So the company was it's under the company called NSG Group.
NSC like this group?
NSGG.
GG. Okay. NSG group like that.
Yes, yes,
All
glass
right.
ceramic and
Glass, ceramics. So this applies to everybody right now.
this
So
one,
eh,
the Pilkington glass. That's what the company was. Do you see the company below the NSG group? The groups one
well,
under
it
the
says
groups one?
2K. Well,
Yes,
actually, this is a group. All right. I'm glad that that came on board. So there's a difference in what you're seeing on the board right now. The one on top is it looks like it's based out of, I think they even misspelled it. That's supposed to be Tokyo, right? It's a Japanese company, it sounds like.
they said that they're an international company, but the
Okay.
person was from the North American side.
Okay. So I guess what I'm trying to point out here is the top one looks like it's the company website, and then the bottom one, just like we have the Illinois Tech Career Services group, this group at the bottom that Ariba was talking about is a group specifically for NSG. And we may or may not be able to go in. I already see the button that they have here. It says join, so we cannot see those members. Okay. Did you guys understand the distinction that I just tried to point out to you?
Yes.
Makes sense, right? So there's two things that Ariba could do right now. If she was more interested in the bottom, she has to request for them to like accept her. They may or may not accept her. And that's the only time she could see these 2K members that you're seeing on the screen right now. Okay. Otherwise, we go to the main group, and my hope is that the person that Ariba spoke to at the career fair yesterday, because this one has 48,000 followers. I'm assuming one of the followers is the person that you saw at career fair yesterday. Make sense?
Yes.
All right, cool. So whenever you go to any company website, you see this part that says all, 3,590 employees at LinkedIn, and you open it up. And then I just have a basic membership right now, so there are no filters. We may want to go through this individually to find the person. You have the person's name?
Yes, his name, their name was Ryan Eggert.
Ryan, Eggert, like this?
Yes.
NSG? Okay, it's not showing up under NSG, so they may be showing up as something else. So there's two things I can do. I can just go with Ryan Eggert. Oh, you know why this is happening? It's because I'm in the career services group. Sorry. Let me get out. I'm going to click on home. I'm currently in the career services group. So when I was typing in that search, it wasn't finding it because it's not in the career services group. So let me try what I tried again earlier. Ryan Eggert and NSG. And there is no Ryan Eggert showing under NSG.
I think
Let me just,
he was working for the company that was under NSG. The company's name was Pilkington.
okay, so let's just find Ryan Eggert in general.
Yeah, it was the one, the electrical process control. I think the third
This
one.
one, the third
Yeah.
one. All right. And he's based out of Aurora. The story is kind of like holding here, right? Because you said electrical out of the third one, and then it says Aurora, Illinois. So more likely than not, it's this Ryan, right? So you click it, and then you could see the picture. Was this the person you spoke to?
Yes.
All right, cool. So I just showed you guys how to find, like, make those connections of, who you saw at the career fair. But this doesn't look very promising because Ryan only has 13 connections. So more likely than not, they're not like on LinkedIn a whole lot. But he is an alum. So guess what that tells you? He probably has a Hawk email address. Are you guys following my detective work?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so hang on. Let me help you because I'm an employee. I'm going to go into the employee database and I'm going to find Ryan Eggert for Ariba. You see how you guys have connections? You know somebody who works for career services. Well, Ariba used to work for career services too. So let's find Ryan Eggert. Uh-oh. Did I spell that right? Well, some good your connections doing, Ariba. Oh, maybe he just worked here. He was just an employee. Let's go back. What did it say exactly? He worked as iPro. He did finish here.
2016.
That's interesting that I didn't find him in Handshake. Any ideas, Ariba?
I found his email ID.
Already? Did you send him an email?
No, like I found it for Ariba.
Oh, Ariba.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, Yash is more useful than I am. Thank you, Yash. So how did you do it? So everybody has an idea. Did you just go to an email and then it found it through our database?
Yeah, so like as I saw, like he's from Illinois Tech, so he must be registered in the database. I just
Mhm.
opened my Gmail and clicked on New Compose, then typed in his full name and I got his email.
Ryan Eggert. There you
Yeah,
go.
he's the one.
I love it. Thanks, Yash.
And I guess there are more chances of him replying back on email instead
Yeah,
of LinkedIn.
well, considering that he's got LinkedIn, but I wouldn't make those assumptions despite what we're seeing that he only has 13 connections. I would still reach out to him on LinkedIn, Ariba,
Okay.
and then
And then if he
um,
doesn't reply, then I can reach out to him on his email.
well, I would do both at the same time. So very
Okay.
good question. I would reach out on LinkedIn. I would reach out on the Hawk email address, and there's a third possibility. Um, one of the tools that we work with, BJ just said, has the ability to find email addresses. So I'm going to find that out from him shortly. So the third way for you, Ariba, is email from IIT, LinkedIn, and then let me find out this third thing that BJ said that could
Yeah,
help
I
us find
remember
email
that too.
addresses of anybody. Do
I
you know
was
which one
thinking,
that is?
yeah, I think I have the link. Let me search because I remember I had a meeting with BJ 2 months ago, and then he told me about it to the website where I can find email addresses.
All right, cool. So if you give that to me, I'm going to share it in the LinkedIn group. So thank you. But let's address your. You can find that after the call because I want to answer. I want to free up your mind to ask me questions about career fair follow up because that's the purpose of this call.
Okay.
So does it make sense so far, Ariba, or anybody else on the call for that matter? Is this making sense so far?
Yes.
Um,
All right, go ahead.
wh- what are we trying to do? I joined late.
What are we trying to do? Oh, Emmanuel, good to have you, man. Welcome. So let me bring you up to speed. What we are trying to do right now is we just going through experiences from the career fair. By the way, did you go, Emmanuel? Did you go to the career fair?
Yeah, I went. I was
Okay,
there.
good. So Ariba was sharing her experience from the career fair in that she only found two companies that she could talk to. So what we were doing right now was I said she kind of gave us the name of the company. Actually, where
Okay.
did I stop on sharing? Let me go back to it. What we were doing when you came on board was we typed in the name of the company and then we found the employee. So that's why you see Ryan Eggert on the screen. And then we noticed from his LinkedIn that he used to be a student at Illinois Tech. So we were looking out for his email address, which Yash found just by going to our email server and just making it, starting it like he was going to send an email to Ryan. And that's how we found his email address. So we right now are teaching you, well, number one, we're trying to find out what your experience was with the career fair, and number two, what's your game plan moving forward as far as your follow-ups, job applications, yada yada yada. So that's really dependent on who we have on the call and what the experiences were so far. So Ariba, were you clear with this so far?
Yes.
Ariba?
Yes.
Okay, good. Was there anything to add to that? Because otherwise, I'll go to Emmanuel to ask him what his experience was like. Well, actually, Yash already shared. He said it was pretty good and he didn't have anything. So we are going to Emmanuel.
Okay. No
All right.
questions.
All right, cool. Thanks, Ariba. Emmanuel, would you mind sharing what your experience was with us? And if you have any questions, or I'll figure out what to talk about. But this call is about following up with your contacts from yesterday.
Um, it was fun. I didn't really find like aerospace companies, and I'm majoring in aerospace. But then I did speak to, companies like mechanical and stuff, and I did give them my resume. I think about 8 of them. So, and I got some business cards back. So they were like I should, follow up. And I did add some people out on LinkedIn. There's this particular person that I'm talking to on LinkedIn right now from one of the companies that I talked to and I applied to. But then yeah, I didn't know what to really say in the conversation.
Yeah, we'll cover that. We'll cover that. Don't worry about that part. So that's kind of like part of what we're talking about. So thank you for saying that you didn't necessarily know what to say. But again, just to bring the rest of the folks on this call and the people listening into this recording, we have a group that's called the Business Relationship Strategists, Business Relations Strategists, of which Vaishnavi, Yash, and new member Emmanuel, and actually even newer than Emmanuel is Ariba. Ariba graduated last December, but I told her about the group, the wonderful work that you're doing in reaching out and improving your outreach skills to practically strangers to help you guys with your job search. So, Emmanuel, that's why we're having these calls. We normally have them on Thursdays, but because of career fair, obviously everybody was busy. And then I made it on Fridays because we have another group of mentors. We have the LMentors, the LinkedIn mentors, and we also have the Kaplan event consultants. And all these three groups, your main task, you kind of like have a different focus as to why you're reaching out. Um, the reason is actually irrelevant, so to speak, for our purposes, because you're reaching out to the companies, you're being strategic about who you want to reach out to, because in the back of your head, the commonality among these three groups is you're reaching out strategically to these companies so that you're paving the way for referral advocates for you guys as you look for internships and jobs. Other questions, Emmanuel?
No, no. Yeah, no, nothing
That sound
more.
good so far?
Yeah.
So to your point that you didn't find a whole lot of aerospace engineering companies, and just before you came on the call, Emmanuel, Ariba was kind of like in the same boat with materials engineering. So materials engineering, aerospace, biomedical, there are certain colleges, even the business folks, they don't necessarily have a lot of companies show up during these career fairs. The beautiful thing about, all right, Vaishnavi, thanks for joining us. I'll send you the recording. The beauty of the work that we're doing is even if these people weren't at the career fair, so to speak, what we are teaching you right now is reaching out to them via LinkedIn, via email, via what other means, so that you effectively expand your circle, even though you didn't meet these guys physically at, say, something like the career fair. So the career fair is good because it's face to face. But what I'm telling you guys, even to the guys who don't have a whole lot of conversations during the career fairs in school, is what you're being taught right now is don't worry about the face to face, because that can happen by starting first on social media. And then we teach you the specific methods of which other students are getting success. While we go there, since we have Yash on the call, Yash, would you mind sharing your story about the emails that you were sending, that you sent 50 of them a certain way, and then you and I had a conversation on one of these calls. I gave you a suggestion and what the results were. Could you please share that for Emmanuel, for Ariba, Olumosope, and the rest of the new listeners to this recording?
Yeah, sure. So initially, like everyone else, I was sending, I guess, 100 worded long letter to everyone on LinkedIn regarding
Long
what I,
emails, right?
yes, regarding my qualifications, what I'm looking, and like I need a referral, like everything I could fit.
Uh-huh.
But like that didn't work out for me. And
You sent 50,
I,
and how many responses did you get out of 50? Was it
so
50s?
before my like in my previous approach, it was like 0 out of 50
Hmm.
or like 1 in 100. But
Okay.
later, like as Bernie told me to send a message which was happy Feb, not February. It was,
Okay. This was
yeah,
back in February.
we had a conversation in on 1st of February. So he just told me to send happy Feb, not February, but Feb,
Hmm.
just to be precise, with the first name in bold letters.
Hmm.
So I tried with that and I got like 5 out of 50 replies who
Hmm.
were like, oh, sorry, like we were busy now, please let's talk,
Oh, they
things
even
like that.
apologized because they saw your previous message.
Yeah, so like the long message they saw, but they didn't reply to it before.
Beautiful. So so just so Ariba and Emmanuel and Olumosope are clear about why I told you to even not spell the word February, right? It was just FEB. The whole reasoning behind that is what? These people are what? They're busy,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So when you send something as simple as, hey Yash, happy Feb, I mean, number one, it kind of brings your attention to Yash again because he's sending you a new email, but this time it's much, much shorter and it's much, much easier. Think about them. It's much, much easier for them to respond because all you said was happy February.
Yeah, just like a stranger whom I met on the street.
Nice work, Yash. Ariba, Emmanuel, and Olumosope, questions about that? Because I'm going to jump into actual messaging right now.
And I'm gonna do that with March as well.
Yeah, that's why I sent that message. If you guys notice in the LinkedIn group, I said Happy March, and then I was jokingly asking, "Do you know what to do with this?" And then I said, "Reach out to any of our business relations strategists; they will tell you." Emmanuel, Olumosope, you guys good so
Yeah.
far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to share this thing that I shared on LinkedIn. So for the new people to these calls, you can go to home. You can type in Illinois Tech Career Services, and we're looking for the group. Okay, there's two, but I purposely went to the wrong one so that you see on the screen that this isn't what I want. I'm looking for the group. So I'm going to click on group right now. And there, it's showing 1K members. It's going to say view posts, but you have to join. If you're not a member yet and listening to this, you want to join that so that you can see what you're seeing on the screen right now. And I just shared this earlier. And this was a conversation with a student just before this call. And I had this same conversation that I had with Josh. And what you're seeing on the screen is typically what I bet 97% of students from yesterday and Wednesday are sending out to these companies as they're trying to follow up. Okay. So, Yash, does this look like your original message?
Yes, it does. Totally the same.
It sure does, right? And then I want to stress that you always want to be thinking about the audience of whatever your communication is. These guys are very busy. So if you're doing this, what you see on the screen right now is quite intuitive. You're drawn to send something like this, but it's not effective because number one, they're busy. Number two, it's quite long. And then when I talk about something like Happy Feb, which Josh sent out, this was the communication with the student that I had today. So if you notice, it's not Happy Feb, but again, it's short. On the right-hand side, these are the three guidelines that we share with you about your messages. Is it short? And then number two, is it worded to elicit such that you're expecting a response? Because what you're doing is you're laying the foundation for a conversation. So what do you think about this message? Is it short?
Yeah.
And number two, do you think it was designed so that we're expecting a response?
I think it's just like you making a comment. So I don't know if you're expecting a response.
Well, I am. I'm complimenting them.
Yeah.
So if you were the other party, wouldn't you be enticed to respond to this? Because I
I
just
would be excited to
complimented you,
respond.
right?
Yeah.
So you see what we're talking about? We are very specifically thinking about what we send because we want them to respond. But obviously nothing's 100%. They may respond, they may not respond, they could be busy, or they just don't want to talk to you. We don't know. But we're trying to raise the odds of them coming back to us because what you want is a text-like message. Okay. Neil kind of said that at the last recording that we had that he's like, oh yeah, he's like, just like texting. That's the effect that you want. And the effect that you want is not like this because just like texting, I would never text something this long. So I liked it when Neil likened it to like texting back and forth. Ariba, questions about this? Ariba, is this good for you? Because I know you're doing follow-up with that Brian dude.
Yes. No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. What are your thoughts on what I shared so far? You've been through some of the material, so I suspect that's why you don't have any questions, right?
Yes.
Okay. Emmanuel and Olumosope are the new guys to this type of messaging. So let me check in with them before I share with you the conversation with the student this morning. Olumosope, how you doing?
Yeah. I'm understanding it.
You're good?
Yeah.
Emmanuel?
Yeah, I understand it.
Okay. So this was the message this morning. I was asking you guys, how are you planning on following up with these guys? So the actual conversation, the student goes like, would it be appropriate for me to say something that I enjoy the conversation? And I'm like, absolutely. What you want to do in situations like this is to capture something specific from that conversation that you had with them. Because if you're thinking about standing out, the more specific you get, like say, for example, they happen to talk about their kids, or it took them like 2 hours to get here. Those types of things will set you apart. And I want you to capitalize on that information to use as an intro message. Does it make sense?
Yeah, so we
Yes.
should like talk about how long it took for them to get to campus or something like that.
You could ask them, but I was just using that as an example. Say, like when it was your turn to talk to them and they happened to mention that it took them 2 hours to come out here. In their mind, that was fresh to them because it's just a very recent experience. So when you use that in your message to them, say, hey, I remember you said it took you 2 hours, they'd be like, oh, they'd remember that you said that. You see what we're
Yeah.
doing? We're
Yeah.
trying to find something for them to remember you by. So if
Okay.
you kind of get keen with this, like the student, I ask them, the student goes like, would it be appropriate to say something that I enjoy the conversation? And I even went more specifically to the points that I just made. What exactly did you enjoy? And then the student goes like, I enjoyed talking to someone who was also passionate about public transport and public policy. Therefore, when we crafted the message, notice how we're capitalizing on it, right? Say,
Yeah.
Molly, I truly enjoyed talking to you at a person. Or let's just say Joe. Joe is the person, and Joe happened to talk about they were stuck in traffic for 2 hours. And just say, hey, Joe, hope that your drive back wasn't like 2 hours, like when you came to Illinois Tech. You guys catching what's going on here?
Yeah.
I'm relating to something that is a background of relatedness from our conversation and using it to open the doors for what I'm hoping would be a back and forth. Why do you guys think I keep on stressing the back and forth?
Um, cause like if you get them engaged in a conversation with you, they'll most probably take a liking to you and your person and would want to look at your file more and stuff.
Very good. Because just like we said out here, you want to keep a back and forth going because you're trying to establish a business relationship here. And the business relationship cannot occur without conversation, right? So let's go back to this. Like the first thing, you kind of like dumped all the information on the other party, right? So
Uh-huh.
you kind of said, and then if you were the hiring manager, you'd be like, oh, okay, I have something for this student, or I don't have anything for this student. If I don't have anything for this student, I'm just going to ignore them because I'm very busy. But you wasted the opportunity to get something going with this person because they may have other opportunities after today. Are you guys
Uh-huh.
connecting the dots?
Yeah. I
Questions?
I do have a question. Let's assume like the recruiter that you spoke to was like somebody that is not really an hiring like manager in the company, and he was just there to like see how many students are interested. So how do you engage with somebody like that that says it doesn't have anything to do with who gets hired and stuff like that? So
Very good question. So if I heard you right, the person who was there was just collecting the information to bring back to the company, correct?
yeah, yeah,
Okay. So that's a very good question, actually, for the purposes of what we're discussing. Whenever you go to a career fair, you never know what to expect. You could have people like you just referred to, Emmanuel, or you could actually have somebody who's looking for a person and has the ability to hire somebody. So that's why it's very important whenever you go to any career fair to be prepared for whatever, right? Because people could possibly get a first interview at a career fair also. That's why when you go to career fairs, always dress to impress because you never know. This might be your first interview with them. So So back to your point, Emmanuel. The good thing about support people is that they may not necessarily be that busy once they hand off the information to HR or the hiring managers, right?
Uh-huh.
So it's good to still stay in touch with them, create a business relationship with them, because let me just fast forward this for a second. Let's just say person A is the person who was at the career fair who's kind of like just in a support role. Okay. Person A is going to forward this to person B who's in HR and also to person C who's the hiring manager. Okay. So once A hands off to B and C, they're not as busy as B and C because guess who's doing the hiring? Person B and C. So these guys are going to be very busy. The nice thing about doing connecting with people like person C is they know what's going on in the company. So I'm going to fast forward it even further. What happens if Emmanuel made it to person C hired them, and then they started ghosting you or they disappeared? You were waiting for a response for them because you interviewed, but you didn't hear from them. Guess what happens if you created a business relationship with person A? You're not stuck like everybody else who's just waiting for person C. You have
Uh-huh.
yet another person like person A who could be your advocate in like finding out what's going on with your application.
Okay.
Making sense?
Making sense.
Does it make sense that everybody is kind of like important in your job search? Just because they're not a hiring manager doesn't mean do not connect with them. You really want to be connecting with everybody because you're kind of trying to make a lot of connections to help you in what you're up to.
Okay.
Ariba, did that hit home?
Yes, that helped.
Okay, cool. Yash, you said you had a question that wasn't necessarily about the career fair. I didn't want you to say that I was ignoring you. Go for it.
Uh,
Any questions
sorry.
about what we just spoke of or about what you came to the call for, Yash?
No, currently I don't have anything.
Okay. Is this helping
I
so
might
far?
have something. Yeah, it's helping.
Okay. So the most important thing that I wanted you guys to do after a career fair, there are two things that students are doing. Number one, it's like following up on, because some people they found, like Ariba, they told her to go to the website. She's going to be filling out the application. She may be tailoring the resume so that it fits them better. So after you get done with the busy work, which is kind of following up on the applications or the job ads that they tell you to, part of what we wanted you guys to be able to do is all these contacts that you get at the career fair, you could possibly go to their companies, and instead of just having one connection, the person or persons that you saw at the career fair, you now have the ability to multiply that by going to the company website, researching the employees, finding other people in the same company so that instead of one contact, you could possibly make it 10 contacts or even 20. So have at it based on your research on LinkedIn. Questions about what I just said?
So you basically go into the company and try to find other contacts there and try to reach out to them too.
Yeah. So give me a company. Let's do another example, Emmanuel. That's a good question. So let's pick an example of a company that you went to yesterday so I can show you how to do exactly what I just described.
I manage.
So spell that for me, please.
IMANAGE.
IMANAGE.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Again in the Illinois Tech Services. I'm going to click home so I get out of the Illinois Tech Group. And you said I manage, correct?
Yeah.
So it says a company software development. You want to go to the company website of which we found. I open up the website. The good thing about what you're seeing on screen right now is I already have 11 contacts regardless that went to Illinois Tech. So all these 11, they're good people to connect with because number one, you already have an instant background of relatedness, which is you both went or go to Illinois Tech. All right. And then number two, Emmanuel, you want to go through this list and start looking for some of these folks that may possibly be doing the job that you want, or they could be related to like the internships, or they could be possibly hiring managers, like that. Technical support engineer, lead support engineer, principal, director of quality performance. Would that be somebody who could possibly be in a hiring capacity?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think so.
Right? So you see what I'm talking about, Emmanuel?
Yeah.
Instead of just having spoken to one person at the career fair, because of LinkedIn, you have the ability to do even more research and do what we're teaching about business relations. So what do we do with business relations? When you come to the study guide index, have you worked with a group, uh, Emmanuel? I know because you just recently joined, right?
Yeah.
So once you're in the Illinois Tech Career Services group like this, you can go to any post that you see on it, and we normally put in the comments. Notice how I'm scrolling down to various content, and you will find as a comment the index. When you open up the index, you want to go, you do a control F, hashtag business, hashtag business relations, and it's right there. So you see this, Emmanuel?
Uh-huh.
So this whole part, um, I classified this a little better. At the very top for the first bullet, it's talking about exclusively cold outreach success story, business relationships, creating referrals, hidden job market. All of these, Ariba, would possibly relate and show you the bigger picture. I suspect you already know what the bigger picture, but if you guys take a look at the first bullet, that gives you the big picture. Uh, this whole thing, as I keep on scrolling, you notice the keyword connect in the beginning. There's a whole section that says connect, connect, connect all over the place. It's categorized into three. The first one is connect code. The second one is connect practice. And the third one is connect messaging. And prior to that, there's the wrong way to connect, which I showed you on the screen already earlier. Okay, at the bottom, it says wrong way to connect. You guys already know that's not the way to do it. I mean, you still can, but it's up to you with the results that you get. Connecting code, it's showing you different ways of what to say. The second group, Connect Practice, are either alumni or staff or people who are quote unquote safe for you to practice what you learned in Connect Code. And then the third grouping, Connect Messaging. When you click on these pieces of content are actually answering the question because students started doing connecting. All right. So they connected, and then their next question was like, well, what the heck do I say now? So that's what Connect Messaging 1 through 15 so far covers. I don't want to give you too much information, Emmanuel. Questions?
No.
So do you guys understand the approach? Ariba, did this clarify some more from our conversation yesterday?
Yes, I have been through most of the Core Connect, but I'm gonna go through it again.
Yes, and I love the fact that you said because Ariba has been through it once before, and since I invited her to the group, she's listening to the conversations that we're having. And I bet you when she goes back to the same material, she will be seeing the information from a different perspective. Something's going to click. And then if you guys have questions, that's why I connect with everybody on LinkedIn so that you can send me those questions as you get stuck with your messaging. Hey, Bernie, I sent this message. I'm being ignored. Or, hey, Bernie, I sent this out. They were talking with me, but they disappeared. There's all sorts of tactics to get on their radar. Clue number one is if they're regularly posting content, that's a good way to catch their attention. And then we share some others. Yash, can you think of one off the top of your head as to how to be in front of people? Yash has been with us for a little bit, so he has a nugget of information for you. What have you done to get back on their radar?
Um.
Yeah, so I just usually follow look over their profile, what are they posting. I try to text about them regarding what their recent post. Let's suppose they posted like regarding
Mhm.
ChatGPT.
Oh,
So I
okay,
might
cool.
text them, yeah, that's a really cool technology or something like that.
Are you
Which
sending a
might,
separate message or are you responding in the
it's
comments?
mostly the comments, but
Okay.
if it's really specific, then I go for the message.
Okay. Did you guys catch that? So one of Yash's tips is to make a comment and then clue for you guys, don't follow what everybody else is saying. Because some people, they're just quite bland with their comments. They're like, thanks for sharing. Great info. Don't even bother commenting if that's all you say. Say something very thoughtful so that you stand out and the person goes like, oh my God, who was that person? What did they say? And then you can get us back and forth going in the comment section such that when you send them a message, they'd be like, "Oh, that's that Yash guy. He said something in my comments yesterday," and then they would open your direct message. Does it make
Just
sense,
try to
Emmanuel?
be unique every time you can. Don't go
Very
for the
good.
usual things like, okay, thank you so much. That was a great information. Don't say anything like that.
See, you guys see, Yash is getting all the practice. He knows what he's talking about. Emmanuel, makes sense?
Yeah, kind of.
Kinda. Ask me questions. I realize we're at the 1 hour mark. If you have to drop, please drop. But Emmanuel has a question. I'll keep this recording going. Let's capture it.
It's not really more of a question, but then it's like I didn't really understand what your judge said, like the last thing.
Oh,
So
what Yash just said?
yeah.
Yash, you want to expound on what you said? I'll let Yash speak to you. Yash? It looks
Oh,
like Yash
yes.
said. Oh, okay. So when you explain this again, check in with Emmanuel so that he understands it. So go for it.
Oh, yes, please ask if you have any question, Emmanuel.
No.
Oh
He
yeah.
said that he didn't understand what you said about the comments. So go ahead.
So, let's
Sorry.
suppose a person who's a software engineer at Google posted something about ChatGPT. So
I'm
instead of
listening.
saying, yeah, AI is the future or that's great information, try to be specific. So what I did is that, so what are your thoughts on the limited knowledge of ChatGPT? Because it's limited to 2021, right? So that's kind of unique. It's not like just praising the AI, it's awesome, it's cool, nothing like that. But so the other person will think like, yeah, so the limit is the knowledge is limited to 2021. Yeah, so he'll at least think for a second about it instead of just reading over like thank you, great information, things like that.
Okay.
So yeah, and maybe he might reply to you like, yes, it is limited to this, but X is possible or Y is not possible. So then you reply, and that's how you elevate a conversation.
All right.
It's kind of like a follow-up, just like we're talking about the back and forth when you're connecting with them on LinkedIn, Emmanuel. You want the
Uh-huh.
same effect when you're chatting, because guess what happens as you're going back and forth in the messaging? You're kind of like increasing your value because they're remembering, oh, that's that guy who asked that question.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So you're kind of like getting planted in their consciousness. So if this person happens to be a hiring manager, you're golden because number one, you help them out with their content. People usually post content because they want an audience. And then number two, you differentiated yourself because you weren't just any audience who just liked it. You were somebody who was engaged because of the quality of the questions or the comments that you posted, to Yash's point. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does.
All right, cool. Other questions? No questions. Let me just end the recording here. Thank you guys for listening to this, but the rest of you guys, I'm just going to put in a plug for Yash. Actually, you're in the group already, so I just wanted to talk to Ariba, Emmanuel, and Olumosope. So thanks for joining. Let me just stop this.